A very good afternoon and welcome to all our legacy viewers from a hot and humid since the east. Um, I'm a 6-1 Mech veteran, and in my opinion, the Veterans Association is really one of the strongest associations in the country. They organize Angolan tours, fundraisers for veterans in need. They have regular get-togethers in Durban, Port Elizabeth, Cape Town, Bloemfontein, Johannesburg, annual parade. They sell clothing items as part of their fundraising effort. They take part in the Munga cycle race as part of their fundraising effort. And all this is not done easily. There are always committee members working hard in the background, and often their efforts are not really seen, and they work tirelessly. The main boss of 6-1 Mech Veterans at the moment is Johan Boysen, and Johan has all his family members, 4 daughters, a wife, grandchildren, son-in-law, potential future son-in-law. They literally help behind the scenes all the time. You don't go to a parade in Johannesburg and not find a whole lot there. If you need help with clothing orders, you contact one of his daughters. And it's just an amazingly close family. And today, I'm actually going to interview his oldest daughter, Tammy. She has some really exciting ideas. She's been on tours to Angola. So I'm going to let Tammy tell us her story. Yeah, so Tammy, welcome to 6-1, to Legacy Conversations. Good to have you on board. As I have mentioned telephonically, I would like to concentrate on your role in 6-1. The fact that you've been on a few Angolan tours, give us a bit of info on those. I think your first one, you went on a motorcycle, and things that you learned there, things that you came back with, impressions made. And then once we've done the Angolan side, I'd like to get onto the Born of 6-1. I think that's a really great initiative, and we'll talk about that a bit later. So if you would like to start and tell us a bit about your trips to Angola.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for having me. The trips started in 2015. I went with my father and 3 of my uncles. As any good story starts, it started around a fire. We were sitting talking about the good old days, and Dad was telling me how he was in Angola and they had all these reminiscent moments. And my mom came up and she said that she saw an article in the U magazine recently about a gentleman that did the trip on a bicycle. And she went to get the magazine and we had a look at it, and one thing led to another, and the plan was put in place. We were going to Angola, but on motorcycles. So the agreement was, if I get my own bike, I can go with, which I then did. And I didn't even have an idea how to ride a motorcycle at that stage. But I quickly learned how to. And yeah, long story short, we ended up going, did over 6,000 kilometers on the bikes. It wasn't tar road, it was all off, well, mostly off road, sometimes not even a road. But yeah, we got to Carnival, and we had actually taken with educational toys and writing stuff for the schools, because we found out that it wasn't a very developed area. So we took writing stuff with, and fire extinguishers for the police station, which had burnt down previously. And we arranged with the people in charge there to get as many as possible kids together so that we could hand out these gifts or educational toys to them. And the next morning, it was utter chaos. They had policemen there keeping the kids back, building a barrier while we were unpacking all of these books and puzzles and spinning tops and all those things for these kids. And the next thing, they just broke the barrier. they each just grabbed something and went running in different directions. And it took us a while to explain to the policemen they had to get the fire extinguishers back because it wasn't a toy. The kids were walking around with it like it was a doll, rocking it in their arms and stuff like that. But the thing that touched me the most and that got my whole passion for Angola started was a little boy who was about 3 years old. And all he could grab between all the kids was a silver pencil sharpener. And he was playing with this thing in the sand like a little car, up and down, and had this whole road drawn out and everything, and it just broke me. I was so yeah, that's sort of I realized how grateful we were to or should be for what we've got in life. And then while we were there, and this was actually caught on camera by the SABC who went with us, they Halo detonated some of the landmines that were still lying just off the outskirts into the Tampu Triangle. And it broke my dad. He broke down in tears. And yeah, that's when it all started sort of, I started realizing that there's a lot behind what happened there. And they started talking and telling more stories that I'd never heard before. But when we came back, my dad was a total different person. He changed. And I'd like to think I was a different person too. You sort of appreciate the small things in life a lot more. But yeah, that's how we started with the tours. We both decided that we wanted to help more people get the closure that he got by going to Angola. And we started planning a tour in 2018 with General Roland de Vries, who we then met. And he became a very important part of the planning structures, and we were working alongside General Fernando Matias from Angola, who's really good to us. We've become family friends now. And he helped us to arrange the 2018 tour. And Andrew, it's a tour you cannot explain to anybody. Anyone who went with on the tour will tell you we were treated like royalty. It's a country which doesn't have a lot, but they were giving in excess. From every town we went to, they catered for us. They had cooler boxes full of cold beers, and there wasn't brandy. They had cognac instead of brandy. And the people they just help yourselves. Whatever was left, they were handing out to us and saying, please take it with to the next one. So yeah, it was really a trip that I don't think anybody can expected. The ministry was involved in that tour, and so yeah, it carried on to 2019. Unfortunately, 2020's tour was cancelled due to COVID. And then obviously this year's tour, it was last year already, 2022's tour to Smoke Shell was a year late, but it happened eventually. So yeah, the whole drive behind it is to get people not only to go back to closed chapters in their lives, but also to see what the country still looks like 30 years later, 30 plus years later. The damage that's been done you can see it everywhere. It's sad to see people walking around. I mean, in 2018, we drove through Savati, 2015 as well. In 2019, when we went, they'd actually Halo had put up signs and said, please don't enter these areas because somebody had stood on a landmine. So it's still an active problem in Angola, and the people live in those circumstances every day. So yeah, that's the long and the short of the story is to take people back, to help them get closure, and also maybe find it in themselves to give a little bit back to Angola in some way or another as well.
And I think it's probably fair to say that you guys built up lots of contacts which have sort of made it easier to arrange these tours going forward, because you call on your contacts in various areas and clear the way, for want of a better word. Just out of interest, were you the only female on that first motorcycle trip?
Yes, the first trip I went with on the motorcycles, I was it was myself, my father, and then my three uncles. One of my uncles was actually in Angola with my dad, and that's how they met, obviously, where I came from. But yeah, it was just me, and then there was in a backup vehicle that went with us, we had Rochelle from SABC that went with, and then Anthea, which was also another lady, but they were in the vehicle itself then.
Okay, because I mean, I went back last year, my first time, and I think we had uh, two or three wives and a couple of children, and so it has obviously sort of paved the way for
Yes.
wives and things like that to
Well, if
go.
I can, 2018, we actually had a Russian veteran with us that flew in from Russia, and he brought his 16-year-old son with to join us on the tour. And let me tell you, the first few days, old Stefan was glued to his phone watching YouTube videos. And then we reached a stage where he just got involved in everything, and he was having an absolute blast. And then the year after that, there was another daughter that came with, Melanie. She came with, so we were the two girls after that. But 2018, we had a lot of wives as well. We actually had a whole group of just husband and wives that went with. So as it goes along, more wives are getting involved, and all of them give you good feedback afterwards. It's an experience. I mean, it's camping where there's no facilities, but it brings us all down to earth and appreciate what we've got at home.
Yeah. I know on our last trip, Nicole Dixon came along and she couldn't wait to get back to Woolworths. Yeah, but yeah, so no, yeah, but I think it was a great experience for you. Hopefully you'll get to do a couple more Angolan trips going forward. Although you've got the two little ones to look
I
after
hope.
now, so yeah. Um,
Well, the
yeah,
plan is to take them with sometime.
you'll have to get them learning how to ride motorbikes.
Yeah.
Uh, then Tammy, moving on, and I think to me one of the biggest issues and I think it happens with any war, veterans are soon forgotten about. And I've often said, as much as we don't want another war, generally speaking, the next war gets people to appreciate what the past veterans have done. Um, and I think the reality is, if we talk of the SADF and the border war, the veterans are really thinning out. 20, 30 years down the track, there'll be none of us left. And we need to find a way that, and this Legacy Conversations channel or YouTube is one of those things to try and record the legacies of those veterans. But clearly, you've hooked onto this Born of 6-1, which I think is a fantastic initiative because it's bringing the children and the grandchildren into play. Could you give us a little bit more information and insight into the whole thing?
Okay, Born of 6-1 started, well, in 2018 when I first met General Roland. He was quite fascinated with the fact that I had such a passion for the whole thing. And I started realizing when I went to the memorials in August that there are actually a few kids scattered in between the veterans attending this as well. And then we started just, you eventually get to know the same people going the same time, every year. And so we started forming a few friends in the circle. And then early last year, um, I got in contact with Neil Briver, and his son also has such a passion for 6-1, but they in Natal, and they had arranged a fishing trip. And they all went. There was a bunch of sons that went with, and when they came back, Nathan said, "What about Sons of 6-1?" So Neil was very excited to tell me about the Sons of 6-1 that his son had now mentioned, and I said to him, "But hey, what about the people that only have daughters? My dad's only got 4 girls, so what happens to us if there's Sons of 6-1?" And he said to me, "Okay, no, wait, he'll come back to me with that." And a few days later, he sent me a message and said to me, "Okay, what about Born of 6-1?" So that's where it actually originated. The name came from Nathan. And then he also designed us the logo, the basic logo that we started off with. And the whole idea was for him to drive Natal and get their kids involved. And I'm doing it in Joburg, trying to get as many people involved here. And then, yeah, one thing led to another. I started helping out with memorabilia. Um, I started helping out with, or we got the little T-shirts designed for the grandkids. And the people were just enjoying the fact that they could get something for their grandchild or for their son and daughter. I mean, we've started a Facebook page now. We're hoping to get more people onto the Facebook page, and not only just to say that my dad was in 6-1 Mech, but hopefully to form new circles, new friendships, new supporting systems. I mean, networks. I've seen with 6-1 Mech, it's absolutely unbelievable. If you need help with something, they put it out there and everybody just responds and helps and suggests contact this one, speak to this one. And that's what we want to do with Born of 6-1, is not only create a network where we can say, listen, I need help, who can help me? But also a place where somebody, their dad's struggling and they can say, listen, have you experienced this? My dad's not talking to me, he's in a bad mood, or whatever it may be. And maybe they'll find somebody in the same situation who can say, listen here, maybe try and talk to him about this, or don't touch the subject, and to support each other and help us also continue with 6-1 Mech's legacy. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's about, is, as you say, veterans are being forgotten. If you look at America, their veterans are treated so well and respected. And you look at South Africa and it's actually sad. There's people going through so much and there's no help. There is help, but to get the help is the difficult part, So we're hoping to create circles where we can help those people in need and help each other and create our own network within ourselves and form a bond. I mean, if you go to a Scouish scheme, people who haven't seen each other for so long, but they just have that bond. And that's what we're hoping to do with the kids of 6-1 as well, is to keep that bond going and to continue with the 6-1 legacy.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Just a thought, there are obviously other veterans associations, various units and things. My personal opinion is 6-1 is amongst the strongest and the most well supported. But maybe we should be sharing ideas with the other associations. So for example, 3-2, share our idea of Born of 6-1, and they can do something similar, get something going, and they might have an idea we haven't thought of, and possibly we can think of those. And also, just for the viewers out there, if you are a 6-1 veteran and you've got children or grandchildren, I'll post some pictures of some of the clothing ranges, the caps, I'll post them on this video, and I encourage you to get your children to get involved. There's a Born of 6-1 Facebook page, which they answer a question to say yes, their father was at 6-1, and then they get accepted. And I'm not sure. I don't think there's a web page as such. I think you're concentrating on Facebook.
Just another thing is those sales of the clothing for Born of 6-1, they all going directly into the buddy fund. All the profits made from it go into the buddy fund to help the 6-1 Mech veterans as well. So at the end of the day, by supporting the Born of 6-1 clothing or memorabilia, you actually supporting a fellow veteran as well. That's the whole drive behind it as well, is to sort of increase the awareness.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. But to me, the big thing is the more children. It's one of the things that has impressed me, and I know you haven't got there, but Club Omatea, the Bloemfontein get-togethers, which they have on the first Thursday of every month, and they involve children and grandchildren and everything, and it's just such a nice get-together. I mean, I'm in East London, which is 560 k's away from Bloem, but I try and get there at least once a year, because I just felt that before I knew about your Born of 6-1, I felt that they in their way were creating the sort of future generation that were aware of what happened, and I think that's important. Yeah. And then Tammy, just sort of moving along. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
I think the Harib weekend is also quite an important part of that, as you mentioned with Club Omatea. The Harib weekend they do once a year as well, to also involve as many veterans and their families, because it always used to just be the veterans. But I think a lot of people have seen that their families actually enjoy being involved and are proud of being part of their legacy as well. So there we're also trying to include as many kids. And last year we had a few, new faces. So hopefully this year we'll have even more kids involved as well.
Yes, and that's normally at the beginning of May. And the
Yes, I
facilities at
think it's the
Gerib
first
are,
week.
yeah, and the facilities at Gerib, they have chalets with pensioners discounts, camping. So it's, in fact, I met your twins for the first time at Gerib last year.
That's right, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and then just maybe moving on from Born of 6-1, the whole Boyson tribe get involved in anything and everything 6-1. Um, I think it's probably one of the closest families, uh, daughters, wife, son-in-law, potential future son-in-law, grandchildren. They all get roped in. Uh, is there anything interesting to tell us in terms of the background and what goes on there?
A lot of people have actually said to my dad they absolutely envy us. I think we're fortunate to have what we have. We're just a close knit family, as it is. If there's something to be arranged, we all hands on deck. We all help. Last year we helped with the memorial to do the food and stuff like that. It's just who we are. It's just we just that family. We always involved in everybody's business. We're four sisters, so always in each other's hair, but also we're the only ones allowed to say anything bad to each other. The moment anybody steps on toes, all four of us are in their hair. So yeah, it's a unique, I suppose, a unique situation. But we blessed to have it, and I hope that we'll be like this for years to come. Always in each other's business. But yeah, we love to be involved in the 6-1 stuff. We have met many people. It's a small world. My sister studied with Sophie Grubier's daughter, and we never made that connection until years later when my dad met Sophie for the first time, and he was talking about his daughter that also studied at UJ, and then we realized that these two actually knew each other years before we made the connection of 6-1 Mech. So yeah, we've made good friends, and you know what, Andrew, a lot of people have become extended family to us as well. It's just the type of family we are. We do everything together. We go away together. We just that's just who we are. We're a big family. So if you ever invite us anywhere, you have to have lots of space.
No, I've certainly I've seen that. I mean, we had a wonderful get together about 2 weeks ago with your family. Um, yeah, and I don't know. I suppose one could talk for hours and hours and hours, but my idea is not to. I feel that people are more likely to watch the video if it's not too long.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anyone else that you maybe should be giving credit to for assisting in these things? I don't.
I must say, look, firstly, my sisters, they're always hands on deck. They always, I'm the oldest, so I guess that's why I'm always taking over everything, I suppose. But they always right behind me to help out with anything that needs to be done. And then Tanya West as well. I mean, she's last year, the two of us were helping Kevin out with the memorabilia. We launched the online store last year. And between the two of us, we were sending out orders that were coming in like crazy because it was a new thing. And you know what? She's always there to help in the background if I need help. So yeah, she also she plays a big role that a lot of people don't know about helping Kevin, because I mean he's busy. Everybody's busy. And that's the one thing is a lot of people forget that 6-1 Mech's Exco actually are all working people. They all have another job outside of 6-1 Exco. So people sometimes get a bit annoyed if you don't answer an email quickly, or if you don't always reply the way they want to, or do something the way they want to. So I think Exco also needs a thank you for everything that they do. I mean, I see with my dad on a daily basis. He's got his own business to run, but he spends 60% of the day sorting out other things for 6-1 Mech. So I think all of Exco need, a thank you as well, because people don't realize they're volunteering, but they still have to put a lot of time and effort into these things. So yeah, if I've forgotten anybody or left anybody out, I apologize. But those are the people directly involved to me who I, work with a lot, and so I think they're the people that I'd like to thank.
I think that's thanks a lot. I think that's very valid. I think in any committee, you get a lot of people that are very quick to criticize what's maybe not done right, but they're not prepared to get involved themselves. And the guys that do get involved very rarely get thanks. And they really put
Yes.
a lot of effort into it. As you say, 60% of your dad's time. And I can quite believe it.
Yeah.
And just for the record, Kevin West is, I think, in charge of finance at 6-1. That you mentioned his daughter, Tanya.
And memorabilia.
I don't remember. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's a very big committee, but what I'll do is I'll get the names of the committee members and just put them on screen so that people can see who they are that we're thanking as well.
Yes, I'd like that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tanya. If there's nothing else, I'd say thank you for your time. It was really good to chat. And yeah,
It
we
was.
hope.
Thank you.
Okay, cheers. And to the
But have a
legacy
great
viewers out,
one.
yeah, thanks, Tanya. And to the legacy viewers out there, until we meet again. Cheers.
Cheers.
My apologies on reviewing. I realized I called you Tanya, not Tammy. Thank you, Tammy, for your time, and it's really a great interview. Cheers.